Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Manga Melee podcast. As always, I'm your host, Jay, and today I am joined by my brother and friend, Josh. How you doing, Josh?
Hi there. I'm doing all right.
Nice. I'm doing pretty okay. Just got home from playing some old Magic the Gathering. Did pretty okay there, but could have done better and won it all, but unfortunately just kind of lost to the God Hand in the last round. And sometimes that happens.
Yeah.
That's card games, baby. So, I'm not stressing about it. I had a good time. What about you? What have you been up to?
I just finished my last day of work with one job, but I still have my main job, so that's nice. And today I also went donate some blood, ate some Indian food, and baked a lot of bread for the farmer's market tomorrow. So
Bet. That sounds nice. I could go for some Indian food, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm actually... A lot of our, house members up here, people who live in the house that I'm in, are, they're going out to, a camp sort of deal, or... It's not really a camp, actually. It's more like a shopping thing, with cabins involved. And one of the spots they always hit up is this, really good Indian place. And I never get to go because I just don't feel like driving down there, basically. So I don't get any Indian food. But
yeah, I get you.
Yeah. But anyways, we're not here to talk about the deliciousness of Indian food. We are here to discuss. I mean, yeah, we could make a whole new podcast about that because it's probably top 3 for me, honestly. Top 3 food type Indian food. I don't know which number exactly it is, but it's top 3 for sure.
I'm not gonna get too into it, mostly because I love this guy as if he were also our brother. But as you know, recently a mutual friend of ours also went to an Indian restaurant with me, and he kind of tried to punch above his weight class on the spice.
Didn't do well?
It wasn't like an edible for him, but he definitely was just out of his range. So I'm sitting here eating my food that I ordered almost conservatively just to test the waters, and I just stare across at this man, and he's not enjoying it at all. It was an event I was paying for, and I was like, you know what, dude, you can order a second dinner that you'll actually eat because I'm just watching you pick at this one, and it's not making me happy to see you like this.
Yeah, I have an idea of who it is, but you'll have to tell me off air to confirm, because I'm pretty sure I can tell who it is just based off of what you said.
Yeah, he ate it all later, though.
Yeah.
He just had to take his time with it.
Yeah, that makes sense. He's the reason... People like him are the reason why whenever I actually order spicy food at, a Thai place or something like that, they tamp it down because of people like that, where they assume that they're going to waste it because they can't handle it. And it's like, I don't think I'm a 5-star spice guy when it comes to Thai food and stuff like that in particular, but I can definitely handle a 3 or 4 for sure.
Yeah, I don't know, it challenged my worldview because I think as somebody growing up in the South, especially in Louisiana, there's some spice situations going on here, so I think our average is a little bit higher than the caucasity of it all.
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, though, I try not to punch above my weight, so I most of the time I'll be medium high, medium but put some stank on it. He tried to go a little bit above that, and then they had Indian hot, which I'm pretty sure if your average Joe walked in the street and asked for Indian hot, they still wouldn't give him Indian hot. They'd cut that shit at least in half.
Yeah, that's fair though. Honestly, Indian hot sounds kind of scary.
Yeah,
but like I said, we're not here to talk about the deliciousness or spiciness of Indian food. We are here, in fact, to talk about anime and manga. So, first off, guys, there was a series that has been getting some pretty good acclaim this season. It actually just ended about a week ago as of the time of recording. So it'll probably still be a week whenever this drops. It might be 2. Actually, it might have just hit 2 thinking about it. But yeah, Trigun. So we're going to do a review of Trigun Stampede, an anime that I'm sure most people listening to this are pretty familiar with, whether they know the old one or this newer one. A lot of people who were fans of the original one were kind of complaining about this at the start. And you know what this taught me? This taught me that if you're going to complain about something that isn't hard confirmed as like a reboot or remake, then you probably just shouldn't, like, just don't complain about it until you see like a reason to really complain. Because
Yeah, and to your point about that, I think what a lot of people would need to understand is like, I think a lot of people were like from the jump, the art style is like whatever, and I'm just like, guys, first of all, they don't make anime like that anymore. I wish they did. I really like the kind
yeah,
of grimy of like '90s style, but at the same
agreed.
time, like, at the same time though, it's like, guys, you don't want it to look exactly or feel exactly like the product you've already consumed.
Yeah,
Like let it kind of do its own thing. You know,
yeah,
otherwise, what's the point of making it?
I agree wholeheartedly. To be quite honest with you, like, especially when the hate on the CGI. Whenever it's
Mhm.
Studio Orange who's working on it, who are by far the best CGI studio out there right now when it comes to like anime. I mean, they
Yeah.
have Beastars underneath their belt. They have Land of the Lustrous. Like, they're bona fide at this point.
Mhm.
Now, granted, I did have a few scenes. Okay, how about we just get into it from the beginning, how we were
Yeah.
feeling, just because I want to kind of stay on track here, kind of going off on a tangent. So we had the beginning, and I enjoyed the beginning because I felt like it had nods to the original series with like how Vosh was drawn on the wanted
Mhm.
poster, how he had the hair kind of sticking up in the traditional style, but he was upside
Yeah.
down. That was cool. Did not really Honestly, I didn't care very much about Meryl or Roberto for the most part in the beginning. And if I'm being real with you, I really didn't care that much about them throughout this entire season.
Um, I kind of like Meryl. Roberto, I think needed more, but we'll save this for the end. But I think you'll get more for the obvious season two plug.
Hmm.
Through another character, which at that point I was like, all right, I'm satisfied with this.
Yeah,
I really liked the beginning, like you said. That I'm not saying it's direct reference at all, but like for instance, Devil May Cry, the bad one, tried to
yeah.
do a similar thing by referencing Dante's mop hair, and they were like, as if that shit sucks or whatever.
Hmm.
Whereas with this, it was like, oh no, hey, look, it's Vash, cool, and we're just gonna point to it and we're gonna acknowledge it, but we're not gonna slander it because that's not what you do on episode one of a semi reboot.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I appreciated it for that.
Yep.
To anyone who's worried, this series never once bites the hand that feeds it ever.
Yeah.
It never disparages
Not
the old show. So
Yeah, and the guy who created Trigun, the manga, Night Owl, he has specifically said, like, basically he said, let them cook, more or less, when
yeah,
people were complaining. And I agree, people did really need to let them cook because this turned out to be something pretty special, in my opinion. Ending of the first episode, we had that excellent scene where he destroys all those missiles with a singular
hmm
bullet. Just the animation on that was spectacular. Like, we had near movie quality animation in most of these episodes. There were a few episodes in the middle that where it kind of slumped, in my opinion.
yeah, I agree.
Episodes 2 and like kind of the middle episodes until about 4 and 5, in my opinion. Like, I could take or leave them. Like 2 and 3, they're
Yeah,
whatever.
before we leave the town, you can definitely feel there's a little bit of a squeeze to try and put the budget a little bit into the front and into the back. There's definitely a little
Definitely.
bit of a gulf. You
I
know.
I will say I saw some people talking about how like the Vash trying to escape scene was the greatest chase scene in anime or something, and I don't agree with that. I didn't
Yeah.
really like the animation in that scene, if I'm being real. To me, it felt very video gamey in a way.
Yeah.
It felt like he was the way he's like moving through the air and stuff. It felt almost like a marionette sort of feel to it,
hmm
which maybe that's what they were going for. And if they
Yeah, I
were,
was gonna
more power
say.
to them. But it didn't look like you don't want your characters, and I'm not an animation professional, so like take everything I say with a grain of salt. But in my opinion, in my layman's opinion, you don't want your characters to look like they're being pulled like a puppet when they're moving, you
Well, and
know?
somehow, do you think part of it is a slight nod to like it being slightly cartoony and all? Because Vash, in some ways, is just a cartoon,
Yeah.
and also in some ways, it's meant to be kind of like blocky and purposely ungraceful. Because, again, no matter what people who like Vash the Stampede will tell you,
He's a
he's
dork.
he's not slick,
Hmm.
he's not charismatic, and he's not talented.
Besides for
Like,
shooting, really, but
yeah, and
yeah.
even then, a lot of that is near cartoon level physics of literally luck. He's kind of like our boy John Halo in that regard,
Yeah.
you know.
I mean, yeah, I can see what you mean by that.
Well, I mean, there is skill there too, but I mean, like I said, he almost goes cartoon world with it sometimes. Like,
Yeah.
that's part of the joke.
Yeah.
People forget sometimes that manga is allowed to be like, and anime is allowed to also be funny
Yeah.
while still doing cool stuff.
Hmm. I I can see what you mean somewhat. It wasn't really for me. I had a lot other like I had a lot of other motion like in motion fluid scenes that I enjoyed from the show that came up. Um was it episode 4 or 5 where we get introduced to Wolfwood? That was incredible, honestly. When just
I want to say, yeah, it might have been 4 because we spend like 3 in the town and then we leave, and then the second we leave the town, Wolfwood and the Worm.
his intro as like an Undertaker is so sick. He has
Mhm.
probably one of the coolest weapons in all of anime, in my opinion, and just the
Yeah, it's
presentation
iconic.
of it. It's super iconic, agreed. Heavy Django vibes from that. I don't mean Django as in Django Unchained. I mean Django as in Django, where the guy is dragging around a coffin that has like a mini gun in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked it. I will say, some of my fans who, I mean, not fans, what is it? Some of my friends who are fans, is what I was getting at, who are fans of good old fashioned man meat, were like, they nerfed his boobies a little bit and they nerfed his schnoz. Well, bring back the nose, the big hooked nose or whatever. And I'm like, I hear you, I feel you, but also look what they did to Vash. They were obviously going to smooth him out.
They made all of them look like e-boys, and I don't mean it in a like insulting way necessarily. Like
Everyone's just kind of pretty.
yeah, agreed. They definitely made everybody a lot prettier. Just seeing them get swallowed by the worm was fun. And then him just doing the gigantic omni cut through the worm with the laser was insane. And it also
every time he throws his weapon around and like ramps it up, you can feel like a little bit of budget going into it.
Agreed.
Like I love whenever machines get like almost like one of the good parts of the Transformers movies where they like get really into like the machinery or whatever as they're shifting.
Yeah, like a transformation sequence basically.
Yeah, like mechanisms and shit.
Agreed. You know? Yeah. And then that scene also gives you like that's the first time we see Wolfwood break the vial in his mouth. So we have the whole like, what is he doing there sort of deal for people who are unfamiliar with it. I really enjoyed that. But episode 6, it's either 6 or 8, which is the Wolfwood backstory episode.
Yeah.
Insane.
Train boat.
Yeah, I think it was called like Hope Somewhere or something like that. Our Home, or it might have been Our Home Hopeland, I think is what it was called. It was so good. The use of color and like just abstract sort of Fantasia-ish animation to it just really added it for me, really added onto it. I loved the music that they played as well. I think that the OST in general for this series was very underrated. I loved it. Yeah. That was probably my favorite episode overall.
The first few different endings before we saw the main one, which I do love the main one. Like especially with the Gemini surgery and the astrology of it's very beautiful. Also, the opening is also really good, especially whenever like it's the gun visuals and like the sand. They do like a lot of the backgrounds really.
Oh, I loved the OP too. Like it was fantastic. That was one of my honestly probably actually my favorite OP of this season out of all the shows I've watched, which is a grand total of like 3. So don't take it super seriously, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Like I like the Wolfwood episode. I like the one right before that, whenever that we get a little bit like subtle Vash backstory.
It was episode 8 where we got Our Home for Vash and yeah.
And it's like, man.
Oh no, it was 6. Once Upon a Time in Hopeland. Yeah, it was 6. Yeah. My fault.
And it's like them numbers ain't numbering whenever it came to the Vash backstory with the kid. And it's like this kid's been like on ice for like years, and then it's like, oh, Vash is like 150 years old right before we get the reveal he's a plant. I think was pretty good.
Yeah,
Like
I liked that too.
movement.
Yeah, I also liked the to speak on Wolfwood's backstory a little bit. I liked the kind of foil that he is to Vash, just both in like, demeanor and how they dress, and the fact that Vash is like, 200 years old or something like that and has remained young, while Wolfwood is like actually a 9-year-old boy who was turned into a grown man.
Yeah, might as well be a fetus. Doesn't even know how to keep a cigarette straight.
It explains so much about his character, about why he acts the way he does and everything. Mm-hmm. But also, like, I do got to give it to him that he is still very mature for someone who has, like, is like 9 or 10 years old, more or less.
Yeah, I think weird super torture that also kind of artificially ages you does a number on your psyche.
Fair.
I like that he had the like the older brother kind of mentality still.
Mm-hmm.
And I like how later on in the story he still doesn't like that's still with him. He's like, yeah, that's still a big part of what I'm kind of chewing on right now. And no, I don't forgive you. I'm done with this job.
That's his D&D character motivation. Like, his player character backstory right there is that orphanage.
Yeah, agreed.
After that, we had when they try to stop Livio on the train, who is Wolfwood's friend from his childhood. I really liked the lighter flip thing that they do. That's sick, actually. I would love to learn how to do that. Felt real sad for Livio, but there was, like, with him killing himself at the end, but there's, like, no other way that it could have ended besides with him dying, unfortunately.
Yeah. I like that part. I like how, like, at first he tries to make him snap out of it by kind of treating him like shit. And then he's like, well, this ain't working. Maybe I should be emotionally honest with my little brother figure about, like, how fucked up this whole situation is, maybe.
Yeah.
And then it works. And then, unfortunately, he takes himself out, like how Wolfwood took out Vash's little guy, Rollo.
Yeah, poor Rollo, too. He had it even worse.
Yeah, Vash is way... I mean, obviously, Vash is way different than me. Vash is almost like... Vash is Steven Universe for adults.
Vash is Steven Universe for adults. That is so true. Damn. But you're spitting right now, actually. That one's got to go on the TikTok.
Yeah, I couldn't... I don't think I could give Wolfwood like that, because like, I had him beat down. You didn't have to shoot him in the head. We could have... I'm 150 years old. I got time. We could have tried some stuff, but...
Honestly, they kind of did have to shoot him in the head, though.
I know. I mean, I get it, but if I were Vash, I wouldn't have accepted that because I'd be highly illogical about it.
Yeah. Let's see. After that, we had Our Home, which is our Vash and Knives backstory. Mm-hmm. By the way, Millions Knives, amazing name. Yes. Amazing. Goated anime name, legitimately. Yeah. Like that... It's a slapper, I'm afraid. Yeah. It's just too good. I don't know how else you could beat Millions Knives. Like, I
like how Roberto gets a little joke off on him, though.
Dio wishes his name was Millions Knives. Like...
See, man, that's some of the best parts about anime and manga is, like, it's very Guilty Gear in the way that it's like, guys, I want every creative to know you can just do cool shit. You can just like
rule of cool is fine. Yeah.
Just be weird about it. Like if it seems like it's too much, go 2 times harder, and somebody will like what you're doing.
Yep.
You know.
So we see Vash crash land on No Man's Land. I like the name Gunsmoke better than No Man's Land personally. By the way.
Yeah, I think.
It's probably it might be a copyright thing, honestly, because Gunsmoke, isn't that like an old Western or something like that? It is.
It's absolutely, it's one of the premier Westerns.
That's probably why.
Yeah. Well, I think in season 2 it might be revealed that Gunsmoke might be like an area instead of like the whole planet or vice versa. I don't know. I'm really, and this is going to go into 9 as well. I thought Brad was going to be on some bullshit. I really did think Brad was going to be on some bullshit, but he became like a good dude, and I like that. Like, I was very pleasantly surprised by that. I'm gonna say this as someone who didn't play this game, but immediately once I saw him, I got immediate fucking Groose from Skyward Sword vibes,
That's fair.
where he's kind of like a fat asshole, but eventually he's like, this is also a literal child.
Yeah.
Like, I can only be so angry at a literal child for so long.
Right. Especially when they find out that, like, he has a brother and everything, and he wasn't the one that did all that.
Yeah, which, if we can talk about kind of Vash's backstory a little bit, there's only one thing I have a little bit of contention with. And I know it's just me, and I know I just need to, like, vibe with it for the way that it is. I'm sorry, I couldn't get over the fact that it felt very much like the door in the Titanic scene where it's like there's enough room for all of them. I feel like Rim could have also got into the ship with the boys, because she immediately gets vaporized by that giant gout of flame. She doesn't even take a step.
Yeah.
And they see her vaporized.
True, but like, they needed a dead mom. Is the
thing to immediately have Vash get a new mom.
True. Not immediately. He wandered for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, also in a 150-year time span. Though.
True. Yeah. Not that long to him.
2 years. And, yeah. But the only thing I will say, though, and I think this might add a little bit of characterization to it, I think part of the reason why Rim went out the way that she did was, I think on some level she absolutely, because they do mention it, like, I think on some level she fucking knew that it was their fault, and I don't know if she, like, I think it was almost kind of...
She couldn't face that, yeah.
Yeah, she was like, I'm not going to be able to treat these kids...
the same after
the way
this.
That I need to, yeah, like...
I'm gonna shoot Knives in the head with a gun if I don't die right now.
Yeah, it's like, I can either try and maybe do something and help people, or I can go on with these kids and eventually murder them with a rock. Maybe both of them, depending on how guilty the other one makes me feel about it.
Yeah. That's also, we get their Vash's backstory with him and, like, the incident that led to him and Knives, like, freaking out about it, which is finding a former plant, what are they called? Individuals?
Independents.
Independents, yeah. A former independent was on the ship named Tesla, and, well, she was, let's just say that she was separated into 3 different, like, Bacta tanks when they found her, more or less.
Yeah, in a very sort of, like, split GZ pose. And also the unsubtle thing of them being like, oh, that was probably our sister.
Yeah.
That was probably basically our sister equivalent that we just didn't have because some scientists wanted to do experiments or whatever.
Yeah. Messed up situation. I wonder if we will see... like, obviously not, we won't see more of Tesla, but it makes, like... on paper, obviously not, right? But they have, like, metaphysical bodies in a way.
Yeah,
like the end of
some great source.
Yeah, so I feel like we could see, because I don't believe Knives is gone forever either, right? Like, no way. That'd be so lame if Knives was gone forever.
I feel you, but I think we're gonna move into Trigun Maximum, and also at the same time for me, it's like, and I haven't read Trigun Maximum, I just know it exists, so I don't know if he shows back up. I believed he wasn't gonna die up until the point where he literally turned into ash in front of us.
Yeah.
But even then, I would believe it if he could, like, have, like, he's Millions Knives. He can make knives. I would believe that he just discarded a bit of flesh out into the world and can regrow from that. You know?
So, I know a little bit about the Trigun manga in original anime. And I know that the July incident is often referenced in it. And what we witness at the end of Trigun Stampede with the giant plant colossus and everything.
Yeah, the giant Rim, the giant mommy.
Yes, that is the July incident.
Yeah.
So that leads me, and I know, and here's some spoilers for the next season or seasons after that. If you're not interested in potential spoilers, just skip forward about 45 seconds. Like, I know for a fact that Knives is at the end of Trigun. Like, he does more stuff. Or it's either him or the blue-haired guy, whose name I can't remember right now, who is like, his backstory is messed up, actually. Like, he's like a sex slave and all that.
Yeah. It's not quite Berserk levels, but...
it's up there. It's very up there for a shonen manga, for sure.
Yeah,
Uh,
I would say this whole thing made me actually sit down and like look up. So this whole thing made me like look it up. I didn't realize Fashion Stampede, like the entire anime was of Trigun was really just like 26 episodes. I don't know, man. I got in my brain that I was like, oh yeah, that's a big long anime that would take me forever to
it's
watch.
got to be one of those 100 episode boys.
Yeah,
Like,
or even if not that bad, like at least like 52, like something I have to sit down and put time into.
yeah.
And I was like, you're telling me I could have been caught up with Fashion Stampede like this whole time and then moved on to the manga. Also, I will say before this, besides just like the internet letting everyone know about Trigun, I did watch the Trigun movie that I do own. Was like my first ever Blu-ray purchase just because it was on sale. Trigun Badlands Rumble, which is a pretty nice movie and does kind of get you the vibe, but obviously it has none of the backstory really.
Do people? Is it one of those where people like generally like it? Because I know a lot of movies
I
are
think
kind of.
so. Like I know our boy Lynn of the Bros Who Think Network, of which
Shout
I'm
out
currently
Lynn.
listening to. He likes it. He especially likes the villain, and the villain's like pretty fun.
Bet.
It's very Western. It's real rude and tootin'. The big bad dude from the Badlands gang is doing some shit.
Got it. I think he was posting about that in the Discord, the Bros Who Think Discord earlier today. By the way, if you want to talk to me or Josh or Lynn or Peter or even your boy Krissa from Anime Talk, shout out Anime Talk. New episodes coming soon.
If you want to yell at Jazz.
If you want to yell at Jazz and tell him to stop liking that stuff on Twitter, we can all see that. Join the Bros Who Think Discord server. Head over to Bros Who Think on Twitter, and the Discord server is in the bio, I'm pretty sure. And I think it might also be in the description of this video when we drop it. So do that, because we would love to have more people discuss more stuff. And also, I think I'm going to be starting a Manga Melee Discord at some point soon for myself, just because, I don't know, we got kind of not super overlapping fan bases a lot of the time, and I would love to have a place for people to talk about, like, shoujo manga, or, you know, just stuff that we normally don't talk about on the Bros Who Think server. Because while I do love those guys,
a little meathead.
it's definitely a bit of a meathead place.
So I'm not gonna lie, and I do my own problem with it as well. Sometimes that server is a bit of a One Piece server. But you know, whenever a big chapter drops, what else are we gonna do? You know, like at that point, give One Piece its own thread.
True.
You know?
I wouldn't mind that, actually, but not something we necessarily need to discuss on the pod, obviously.
Also, we also do a lot of nerd stuff like D&D and stuff. I say as the sole DM proprietor of D&D in that server. But, you know, like, it's a good general nerdy vibe with, like, decently chill dudes who are pretty good.
Agreed. So, back to Trigun Stampede. At the end of it, we have our scene where it looks like a Final Fantasy, a modern Final Fantasy in-fight, basically, in a good way. Vosh and Knives just, like, battling it out, shooting at each other, throwing knives, just flying around a lot, too. They both develop some, like, wings. And we see Vosh actually get his new old hair. Whenever he goes Super Saiyan, basically, he gets the old haircut. So people can stop complaining.
Yeah, it's awesome and amazing, and I think it made the whole thing worth it, even though I think he looked fine.
I liked his haircut too. I didn't mind it.
At the end, I was like, yo.
That was hype. That was hype. And then they fly.
They literally had angel triggers.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, instead of Devil May Cry double triggers, it was like, oh, okay. And 100%. Vash is all blacked out and black, but, you know, he's still the good guy. Do you understand the symbolism?
Yes.
And then, you know, the mightiness of Virgil, millions of knives and all white, you know?
Yeah.
And his weird, smooth Kindle morph suit.
So they're basically playing Keep Away with a cosmic cube type beat. And they fly off into the stratosphere to unload it, and Knives is just not having it. And he gets obliterated. Absolutely obliterated by the energy and attempting to re-enter the atmosphere at the same time. He gets fully skeletonized and then turned into dust. But like I said, I still don't believe that he's dead, even though he got turned into a literal skeleton in front of our eyes.
Yeah, you can't say the man's not dedicated and goddamn determined. I mean, against everything else, he was going to do whatever it took to become a baby daddy to several hundred independent little children of women who are also seemingly already pregnant. I guess he just had to put his DNA code on them or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. He was on his Nick Cannon arc, is what he was.
Truly. And then, yeah, basically that's more or less the end. We get a shot of Meryl going to July to like do some investigating, and I believe she also lays flowers down for Roberto.
Mm-hmm.
And
cigs in a bottle.
Yeah. And we get a call that she has a new or somebody who wants to train underneath her.
Mm-hmm.
Some tall,
specifically requested.
Some tall girl named Millie. Yeah. And that is, the classic from the original Trigun. So another thing people can stop complaining about. She's coming.
They also, Roberto actually, one of his last lines also, besides for his pretty death scene, although the second that he's body blocking for her, you know that he definitely got his ass got.
Yeah.
I think it's actually kind of insane it took Meryl that long to figure it out because the man has a giant literal nail sticking out of him. But he also does mention the insurance agency. Like, he's like, look, are you even a reporter? You keep putting yourself in dangerous situations. Go join the insurance corps or whatever.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they're going to do that, but like, you got that reference. You got Millie back. So again, everyone stopped complaining. It all kind of went back to what it was after 12 episodes of a really good anime.
Agreed. And I think that a lot of people kind of, like, I think most people really got over it. And I'm glad that they did, because if you let yourself miss out on something like this just because you didn't think it was going to be faithful or whatever, then really it's just your loss. So, any final thoughts that you like to share before you give a score?
Oh yeah, a bunch of them, but I'll try and keep it concise. So I'll kind of open this as like kind of a little bit of a back and forth whenever we talk about twins and stuff. As I think we can give like a little bit unique perspective, because I saw a couple people were like, oh, this almost feels a little bit incesty, and I'm like, on one hand I can kind of read that vibe, on the other hand it's like, guys, you just don't get it. Twins, it's like a thing.
Yeah,
like it's not that. But anyway, before we have a back and forth about that, I mentioned to you just that way I didn't catch you completely off guard before we recorded. The last shot, whenever they're zooming up into the air and he's basically trying to like, burn off this the little cube bomb, all the energy of it, and then our boy Millions Knives is like, "You idiot, you're gonna kill yourself," and they have back and forth. And he's like, "Why are you for real though? Like, it's just the two of us, no humans are around. You can say whatever you want. Why are you actually doing this? What's the point? You are 150 years old. I'm 150 years old. We will probably live another 1,000 if things keep going. What's to do with humans? Like, what's their whole deal? Especially after you know what happened." And he's like, "I just like them. I want friends.
I just think they're neat. I just think they're neat."
Yeah. And he's like, "Okay, that's cool. I noticed they have wanted posters. I didn't put those out. Bad stuff keeps happening to you that I'm completely uninvolved in. They keep making you like a villain and literally chasing you and shooting you. And sometimes they even hit you. So, what's the point about that?" And he's just like, "Yeah, so I'll just like party and hang out with them. And then, whenever shit gets hot, I'll run away because I can run forever. And then after the heat dies down, I'll pop it back up again and I'll party some more."
I really liked that, actually. Like, that was a great scene to me.
And then he literally shouts to the heavens. He's like, "Really? You had over 100 years and that's the plan you came up with?" Because that speaks on so many levels. It's like the inherent absurdity, the comedy of it, but also just like an older brother being like, "Dumbass, I've been thinking about this stuff for way too much for 100 years, and you're basically just been like, yeah, I like to party, and then I vibe, and then I walk away, and then I party some more."
Yeah, literally lottie-dottie, we had the party. like
It's beautiful, and I think it's a really good showcase, especially because a lot of that space scene is just them kind of talking as equals again. Like, he's finally not being like stupid Vash, or whatever. And the last bit I'll say before we can kind of again talk about this one thing, in that scene, especially, with this massive weight of our boy Vash literally ascending, and the way that he talks about the circular nature of basically how he lives his entire life for decades. you have it countered with Millions of Knives, who has this big plan, and he's kind of almost like, in my opinion, a mix of Daedalus and Icarus. And you literally see him descending like from heaven, trying to get what he wants so bad that he literally burns himself apart on his brother's own gun. In part, I think, to try and make it sure that Vash doesn't blow up, but basically, like literally burning his wax wings off, trying to ascend to something completely higher. He tried to literally fuck God, and subsume God. But then you have Vash, on the other hand, who, as Camus put it, one must imagine Sisyphus happy, where it's literally like, yeah, I roll the boulder up the hill, and for a moment the boulder's on top of the hill, and I'm happy, and then that shit rolls right back down. But instead of being like jaded and mad about it and upset about how he keeps wanting something and it keeps getting fucked up and how he's the humanoid typhoon, he's like, that's just kind of the breaks. Like on some level, he knows that he's just like won a genetic lottery where it's like, I'm kind of more or less immortal. What do I have to be mad about anything? Because given enough time, it'll start to like mend itself.
Right. Agreed.
And I respect that. Like you don't get a lot of that from a lot of like different shows. Like a lot of people are like, this, that, or the others are cursed, or that kind of power makes someone absolutely corrupt. But I do think there are people like Vash or Steven Universe or whoever, or Aang for that matter, who's the fucking Avatar, where it's like you can just be like a nice hero who wants to just help people.
Yeah, not everybody has to just be an edgy anti-hero. I definitely agree with that. As I say this as someone who loves an anti-hero. I mean, who doesn't, right? Yeah.
I mean, Million Knives is cool, but you can't have 2 million knives. It would be a bad show if you had 2 of them.
So, score out of 10, what do you think you're giving this? You can do a decimal too if you want.
The very front end, I'd say, is, I don't know, maybe I'm just feeling generous because I haven't watched a good anime in a while. But I think the front end and the back end are both 10s. I think the middle drags a little bit down to more like a 7 or an 8, depending on the episode, just because I think they were trying to save the budget. And I think they didn't quite exactly know how they wanted to do the middle. They knew where they started and they knew where they wanted to end. In the middle, it was something they were kind of like fighting about.
Yeah. So what do you think overall, a 9?
Yeah, for the whole thing, I'd probably 8.5. Once season 2 comes out, if it builds off this though, and I can look at it all in aggregate, I could easily see this being a 2-season 10 out of 10 for me though.
Yeah, I think that I mostly agree with everything you said. I really liked the OST. The animation for me was a little bit there was one scene in particular for me where Meryl, Meryl, I almost want to say Milia every time. I want to say Milia Rage instead of Meryl Strife every time. But Meryl is like, she turns her head to like look at Roberto, and it literally looks like a Chuck E. Cheese animatronic turning its head and with dead, lifeless eyes. That besides for that and the small grievance I had with the chase scene at the beginning, I thought the animation was pretty much near flawless, in my opinion, like from my layman's perspective. Love the characters. And overall, I think for me, I'm going to round up because I'm feeling pretty generous and give it a 9. I think it's a really solid, probably my second favorite thing I've been watching this season. Also, I've lied. It's not my favorite opening. Vinland Saga's opening is a little bit better for me. It's second opening.
Well, actually, now that you mention it, now that I put also the ED and OP into it, I think that's enough to also give a 0.5 and bump it up too.
Yeah.
I don't know. My partner really liked the ED, and I like it too.
I liked the ED as well.
And how they're Gemini and
the ending OP or ED, the last episode ED was really good too.
Mm-hmm. Also, I'm a sucker for the environments. I just like the Order of Ash Stampede, and I kind of like how some of it fades in the background a little bit, almost kind of like a video game, and then you have your main characters. But I actually think how they interact with the environment is actually pretty nice. It almost feels like a Final Fantasy, whenever they were at the mid stage where the backgrounds were still a little bit painty, but you had 3D characters, kind of like a Final Fantasy 9 kind of vibe, I think.
Also, I gotta shout out Zazie the Beast, cool character. Yeah. The worm boy, I guess. Androgyne.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on down there, and I don't think it matters because I'm not saying you think it does, but it's a weird facsimile of a psychic worm. That thing is whatever it is at any given time. I read it as a girl most of the time because it felt like a mother worm situation, but you know.
Could easily be a Killua type young boy or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And
that being said, give that thing some proper pants.
Agreed.
It's got its butt all out.
I liked the like the mask. The mask that
the
can
mask was
like
great.
Cool Marvel like type like do more of that Marvel, less of the like nanobots and stuff like that, you know?
Yeah. The only thing with that character in particular, which I'm glad we could bring up, which I did like, a little bit of the interplay between it and Wolfwood, I think, was a little bit spent. Also, for me, it's a little bit like, especially towards the end, I was kind of like looking up at the massive rim, like flower titan, and I'm like, how does this benefit the worms right now? What did the worms get out of this right now?
The worms just like, but how does this benefit me though?
Yeah, I'm just like, Wormchan, what are you doing? Like, I need you to vocally say this is good or bad for your people, because right now it looks like you're like, shit's fucked, and I'm not even gonna try to contest it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
So overall, Trigun Stampede, both of us give it a 9. 2 thumbs up. Would recommend. Hell yeah.
The last episode had, besides for the fight, also just some really trippy visuals going through Vash's mind, especially like that one like red flower thing with like Rem like guiding him through, and it's beautiful.
Agreed.
And like the entire background of like, Millions of Knives trying to rearrange with his memories, and it's like, no, like I was always there for you. And he's like, I mean, you were, but there's also a third person. And like I can smell the bullshit, bro. Like, I don't know, like I almost kind of like how they played it all back into like almost a jealousy angle with him. I just wish they would have seeded that a little bit better earlier, in my opinion. But yeah, I don't know. Overall, it was awesome. It was great. I don't regret this being my first run in with proper Trigun. I'll say that.
Yeah, I really want to check out the manga. I want to check out the manga. Maybe we could do a manga review, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Down.
Yeah, we can maybe get Lynn on that. The only issue I have with it is that basically you kind of have to get it like on the high seas, as it were, because the Trigun physicals that are out in America are terrible. Like they just have like random gibberish and stuff, like not proofread at all. Quality is kind of mid, and they're also very old and expensive, from what I understand. Yeah. I could be wrong on the expensive part, but they are old.
I was gonna say that's a great combination: old and not very well done.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that about wraps it up for our Trigun Stampede review, guys. I think we're gonna discuss a little bit more about some of the weekly stuff we've been reading, and then we will kind of give some closing thoughts on other stuff we've been enjoying, and that'll be it for the show.
Oh, I was gonna mention also we can do like a little update for JoJo's.
I actually have not read the second chapter, which I know is a gigantic sin for me in particular.
Yeah,
I know it. Yeah. I know. We can do a JoJo's review sometime soon, for sure. I'll literally read it after we're done with this. I just have not had... I've been reading actual books, is the thing, so I just haven't had time to read a ton of manga.
All I'll say, and you already know, but one, it's good, and two, Jodio, you're not quite the man I thought you were.
I'll keep that in mind.
As almost fucking tricking the book, but...
Of course.
But he's also 15. That is a literal child.
True.
So I get it. It's fine.
So what we've been reading, JJK, we can talk a little bit about the JJK leaks that came out. So this is for what, chapter 218, if I recall correctly?
Link them to me, that way I can refresh my mind. I'm pretty sure I saw them, but...
Did you not? I posted them in the Bros Who Think server, remember?
Okay, yeah.
With Sukuna doing all that stuff. It is chapter 218, by the way.
Oh yeah.
The new,
like the whole
chapter.
Like,
yes.
Okay, I read it.
Right. So, JJK spoilers coming up. Obviously, we're recording this the 2 days before the official chapter comes out. So if I'm not sure when this will be released, because who knows sometimes, but we'll see. So. If this comes out after Sunday the 2nd, then you're safe, more or less. But if it's beforehand and you don't want spoilers, skip ahead. There we go. So we start off with some Yozoru backstory, which I really enjoyed, actually. I'm a sucker for a bug-themed character, and
I never noticed.
her, like, constructing her armor based around the carapace of an insect because she thinks it's, like, the perfect engineering. Like, honestly, like, I get that. Like, the reasoning for it was sound. They can carry hundreds of times their own strength. They can withstand a bunch of pressure, and they can like do extreme feats of jumping, flying, etc. So it makes sense to me.
Like much like the character we're both trying alluding to, Miss Taylor Hebert of Worm fame, Read Worm. Like bug people, I don't think necessarily understand. Bugs are more like little machines than they are like base animals. Like they kind of have maximum output. They have certain capabilities that they have like standardized, and they're not really able to like push beyond that. That's not really what they do. Like they're not like mammals or like we are. Like you have a bug and it's at 100% until it's not, and I could definitely see the appeal of wanting to like basically build like an armor like mech suit with that design in mind.
Right. Like we don't even know how bugs sleep really. Like we just don't understand it from what I know. If you're like a biologist who knows about, or an entomologist who knows about how bugs sleep, drop that shit in the comments. I'm curious. So we get her and Sukuna fighting, and she is super mad that Sukuna is not using his malevolent shrine on her, taking it super personally. And Sukuna just starts whipping out summons that we have not seen before.
Yeah, which was a point of mild contention.
Yeah, we talked about, so it led to a somewhat debate in our Discord about it. We were wondering, how does Sukuna have these summons that Megumi didn't have? And like, because we kind of, from what we know about Ten Shadows, they more or less have to do like a Pokemon mini game where they beat them into submission and then they can summon them. I think, and I posited that Sukuna is just such like a terror. Like, think about how Ryu and Uro both like felt him coming from like a mile away and were terrified by him.
He's him.
I think those Shikigami just know, and they're just like, you know what? I'm good. I do not want to die like that. Actually.
One thing I also just thought of just a second. Megumi is always like trying to like get his like techniques a little bit better down, and they do have different costs associated with it. It's possible Megumi had these, but he didn't feel confident he was at a level he'd use them. Because he's only just starting to get into like some of the reverse technique stuff, especially with like the deer.
Yeah. I feel like he would have used the healing deer at some point, honestly. Because it's not... I would understand if the Shikigami were like an extension of him, but they're not. They're like it is more or less like Pokemon stuff where like if you just have a good like deer, it's not really, I don't think it affects like his CE or anything like that. Well,
counterpoint, we see that Sukuna, like his new is bigger.
True, and he can also do he can not
a fuck ton of the rabbits,
and he can also choose to not fully manifest them and keep them as shadows.
Yeah.
So yeah, true.
I don't know, but I also can see Sukuna off-screening being like, "Oh, I know how to do the little thing to summon the guys to beat him up."
It makes sense that Sukuna would just like know though, because his whole thing is like he is like it's shown that he is like a scholar of curse techniques and stuff like that, and he did. Like, he's naturally gifted at it, and he also put a ton of time into understanding people he was fighting and his own techniques and how to use them.
He was born into, like, a world of war, you know?
Yeah.
And we all have different ideas of how he got his powers. But nevertheless, once he was on the scene, he didn't start as a god from jump. You know what I mean? Like,
he scrapped his way up. Yes, exactly. So we get some more...
I did like that little mini backstory we got with her and how they amped her a little bit. And she was like... Yeah, I kind of got wrecked a little bit, but then I came back with this. And then I balled so hard on the battlefield that I actually got accepted into, like, a major clan.
Yeah, that was sick, actually. So they go back and forth a bit, and honestly, Sukuna just kind of whoops her with Megumi's technique. Like, it's not even particularly close. And the chapter ends with Yozoru saying that she is going to expand her love, if I recall correctly, and show it to him. Which, I mean, we all know in JJK terms that I mean, not necessarily in JJK terms, but in context of the story, she's about to do her domain expansion. Gotta be.
Yeah. Yeah, and not just that, but also
Because it will force him to use Malevolent Shrine if he doesn't want to get hit. But
yeah. Although, man, when's the last time when's the last time we saw somebody get hit by a sure hit part of a domain? Like, but the thing that I will say that I found interesting was her getting really pissed off. One, because she's still pissed off about the shrine thing, but two, she's like, "You don't understand. I'll make you understand what love is." And then he just kind of like looks at her and has like a slight smirk.
Yeah, he's like he hits her with a.
Yeah, and she's like, "What do you mean?" And she's like, "Wait, you don't already know what love is?
That's me, bro.
That's all for me." Yeah, like who you been loving on? And he's like, "I don't know, dog, you shit." And then that's whenever she like loses her shit and does the infamous JJK mouth whenever somebody's mouth.
Yeah, she distended her jaw to scream domain expansion, more or less. Yeah.
I love it. I can't say I don't love it.
I feel like, okay, so I said that it's going to force Sukuna to use his domain. I feel like this is a fake out on Gege to where he's going to like wharf her and be like, I really do not even have to avoid this. Like, I don't need to use my domain expansion to use this, or he's going to use Megumi's domain expansion and complete it.
I'd really like to see how that goes. I will say this. Shinigami, could he send them out and keep them out of the domain expansion, and then, because you can break through on the outside, just have like the bull just crack that shit in half from the outside?
I think it really depends on what Yozoro's curtain is like, I guess, because Yozoro could also be a she could be a domain expansion on air type, like a a Megumi or Sukuna type, but I doubt they give her that capability just off rip, especially if she's just going to get fucking. I really hope she doesn't get killed in this fight and becomes like a uneasy ally with the gang.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't see, like, I would say I don't see Sukuna leaving people alive like that, but he literally left Yuji alive already. Yeah. So, but he has no reason to leave her alive because he's literally going there to kill her to subsume Megumi, right? So I don't know.
Yeah, that part's kind of a little bit of a head scratcher. I really don't know how we come out of this. I don't know. Like, I feel like we just got time with her, and I mean, it's JJK, although JJK doesn't murder people off right that much.
I mean, but it is JJK, and like it or not, Gege uses characters as like plot movers in a lot of ways. Yeah, and once they're done with moving the plot, they're gone. Like, think about some of our friends that we haven't seen in like 100 or plus chapters at this point.
Yeah.
Like Toto, Inumaki. I mean, hell, our girl Nobara, like, missing in action.
I think we scraped up what we can from the chapter, but speaking of which, in other JJK news, season 2 got its promo though.
Oh yeah, I'm hyped for it. A lot of people were not liking the not a lot of people. A vocal minority of people were not a fan of the like slight art style change that they went through because as a new director.
Yeah, and the music.
Yeah, but I like the music, but I'm a jazz fan is the thing. So that is just my alley right there.
I thought it was very fitting for like the first look at a new one, and funny enough, both that and a little bit of the animation style reminded me a lot of the latest season of Bungo Stray Dogs, actually. I
am going to start... Honestly, I'll probably... Once we catch up with Vinland Saga on our watches we've been doing with your partner, we could definitely do Bungo Stray Dogs after that. If you guys are not bungoed out by that point, I guess.
I'm down for a second watch through.
Yeah.
And
especially...
my partner's legally not allowed to be bungoed out.
Yeah, true. Especially after... Like, I recommended Bungo Stray Dogs as, like, my second show on What Do You Say Anime. Shout out, Peter. Shout out the gang. And,
the villainous Peter.
They shit on it on the first season. It got, like, a 5.6 or something like that. It was very... I did not give it that low. I gave it, like, a 7 or an 8, I think. I think it was, like, a 7, actually, because, like like it or not, that first season was supposed to be a 2-core, and they definitely cut it in half. Because it starts it stops right when the plot starts, more or less, for the show.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like Port Mafia School or whatever, and not to divulge too much, but the series really starts to get its going whenever people start just invading Japan, and then it turns into them Japanese kids versus every other nationality who keeps trying to step to Japan.
Japan versus everybody.
Yeah, Japan versus the world. Namely, America wants its turn, and later on, Russia's like, "Oh, bet," and then we're like, "Leave us alone, you creepy Russians." Etc.
Well, there's some Brits in there, right? Because
yeah,
I've seen Agatha Christie, I'm pretty sure, and
yeah,
I've seen Agatha Christie pop up in various things, is what I should say.
Yeah, there's like the Americans, and then I think they're like the British Hounds.
Yeah, I think
kind of like a little skinny midway.
I think they're called Are they called the Order, or is that the American ones?
I think the American ones are like the Guild or something.
Yeah, I think it is the Guild for America. It might be the Order for Britain then, because
yeah, but yeah, they're still like the Hounds or whatever. But because then the Russians have like the Rats.
Oh, they're called the Rats.
Yeah, big rat army hours with a dirty, nasty clown as one of their main guys.
Oh yeah, Dostoevsky is a clown, isn't he? Or no, it's I don't remember who it is actually, but that's beside the point.
Like Mayoshka or something. Yeah. We're getting to another week. His character design's actually pretty good, but he's a nasty man clown, which I know is right up your alley.
Yeah, true. So true. We've been watching through Vinland Saga. How are you liking Vinland Saga? We're on season 1 for everybody at home. I'm trying to get them caught up to where they can start watching the second season soon.
I like Vinland Saga. Every time that Books A Million has like a big sale on manga, but I know it's only like equivalent in price, but like I walk up and I'm like, I could buy these 4 massive tomes, and technically if I only just put that on this ticket, at least one of them will either be free or like half off or whatever. But I think watching through season 1 is definitely going to help push me in that direction, because I'm like, I have a real problem with just buying something and then not touching it after I've already bought it.
Can I give you a pro tip?
Yeah.
They're about to release 3-in-1s for 3-in-1 hardcovers for Vinland Saga, like how they have the Berserk hardcovers.
Yeah.
Man, so I would just wait on those.
Yeah, because I also keep seeing like the very beautiful, nice like fabric bound Berserks, but I'm like, I'd have to buy like 7 of these.
Yeah, I thought that it was just like 4 or 5 or something like that. I was like, that seems doable, and then like it's actually like 7 or 8 or 9 of them or something like that. I'm just like, damn, I don't have the space for that. I'm not Peter, where I can literally devote like 4 shelves to nothing but Berserk volumes.
Yeah, it's like maybe if I had my own house or a decent sized apartment, I could just cram full of my own shit.
Yeah.
I felt that way about Doro Doro too. Every time I want to pick up a big
too many volumes.
Doro, I'm like, I need to whittle this down more and get like down to like at least like the back half.
I think the only thing I would break that for at this point is I think I want to collect Golden Kamui at some point. I've got the first couple volumes, and I just enjoyed this show and manga so much that I would love to just support it and give them those sales. Also, Delicious in Dungeon. I don't know if that has or Dungeon Meshi, as I like to call it. I don't know if that has an American release yet, but if it does, I definitely want that. I want to start collecting that.
Yeah, I love me some Dungeon Meshi. Although I do need to go back and see how many chapters I've missed since then, because I think the last time I caught up was like late last year, so it's probably had a couple come out since then. But also she takes breaks every now and then,
true.
So it's hard to know when a new one drops unless I go onto the sites and manually look.
Yep. Other stuff I've been reading, Gokura Kugai is on the Shonen Jump app now. Super hype. This was one that I really wanted to read for a long time before it was on the Shonen Jump app, and I never really got around to it, honestly, just because I didn't really feel like finding fan scans for it like that. And, so now I've been reading it. I think I'm 1 chapter behind, and, enjoyed it well enough. But I'll tell you what the best thing I've read this week is. New series that started. It's actually got a new chapter coming out on today, the 1st. So new chapter in a few hours, since we're recording this late at night. Or early in the morning, technically. Service Wars on the Manga Plus
Oh
website.
yeah, I saw
So good. Basically about a wandering waiter who is a god at service. If you've ever watched or read Haven't You Heard I'm Sakamoto? Which is basically a school comedy where there's a guy who's so cool, and they keep trying to catch him slipping, and they never do. Like there's once where they like pull his chair out from underneath him to try and get him to fall, and instead he just like sits perfectly on one leg, like with his leg crossed, and goes like this, and just sits like that for the whole class. There's like he like duels a bee at one point with like a pen. It's great. Sakamoto Desuga or Haven't You Heard I'm Sakamoto is great. And Service Wars fills that niche very nicely, but with a battle element to it that is, it's not battling. It's more like it is battling, but not in the traditional way. It's kind of like how Akane Banashi is sort of a battle anime, but instead of fights, you have Rakugo. Well, instead for this, you have like rushes or whatever, right? Where he is in the first chapter, his antagonist is a customer who is known as Stopwatch Seguchi, because his whole thing is that he brings an incredibly loud stopwatch and times everything that the staff does. And if they're 10 seconds late, then that means he earns the right to complain. It's great because he the first thing he does is he serves him basically serves him right before he's about to complain. And then the guy orders chilled noodles and says, "I would like it in exactly 7 minutes or less, please." And everybody's like, "That's ridiculous." And then the wandering waiter just is like, "All right, here you go, chilled noodles. I knew that you were gonna want that." And like they pan back to the cook and he's like, "What? He put in the order already?" And then he's like, "Wait, that's right, I cooked it." And it was incredible. And
oh.
Yeah, and after that, Seguchi is like, "Oh man, so you're good, but tell you what, there's one thing I still have in my bag." And he takes out a jar that has a scarab beetle in it and puts it in his food. And dude rushes up and he's like, "Oh my god, Beetle-sama, I serve everything, including non-humans, as is my code." And he's like, "Here, Beetle-sama, allow me to wipe the chili paste off of you." And he shines him so bright that he becomes like glowing gold. And he does like a light show that says, "Thank you for visiting our store," like a sparkler more or less with the beetle. And then at the end, as the guy's leaving, because he's like, "Oh man, I'm just gonna dine and dash since I can't get this W." He's like, "Wait a sec, this is yours." Talking about the beetle. He's like, "We can't allow any customers to leave an object of theirs at the restaurant." And he's like, "What are you talking about? That's absurd." And he's thinking, like, I made sure it was in his blind spot. And that's where the wandering waiter reveals that he had the whole time he does his waiting, he has like a mirror in front of him so he can watch his customers even while they're behind him. It's fantastic.
The wait staff take note.
Yeah, no, for real.
Don't actually though. This is insane.
He earned the 30% tip. Yeah, and it's also revealed that he has the aubergine eyes, which are Sharingan, but with eggplants in his eyes instead of the Sharingan. And when activated, it boosts his serving potential by a massive 15%.
Damn.
Yeah. Service Wars, though, I highly recommend it. I was genuinely gut laughing while reading it. It is fantastic. Love it.
I'll have to pick it up.
And you can check that out for free on the Manga Plus website or app if you got that. Don't even need to like have an account or anything for it. You can just go view it on the web.
It's like if Sanji didn't have hatred.
We were actually talking about it, and we said that like if I ever did a restaurant draft, like if you can get him and Sanji, you just win. You automatically have like the best restaurant staff possible, straight up.
Yeah, I think you could honestly have like roaches on the floor and still like do fine with like a back alley restaurant.
Yeah, definitely. So what about you? Have you been reading anything new?
I've been keeping up with Don, which is really nice. It's about to hit its 100th chapter. I'm really excited for what they're doing right now.
How much further do you think they have in Don? I heard it was kind of reaching like a pretty big arc.
It there's a invasionary force that's coming in that we're trying to stop before they can call them the big fleet right now.
Gotcha.
I don't think that's the end at all, because I think the characters still have a lot of room to develop, and they do a very good job of doing like Cecil's lifey development. And then on the other hand, I wouldn't be surprised if it gasses out, but I think I mean, you know, I don't have like numbers to back it up, but it seems like
it's doing well. It's doing well.
Yeah, I don't know why they would cash out right now, but I could also like this would be a perfect fun time to do it, or this could end up being almost like a Shibuya incident thing where it's a tone changer. You know?
Yeah, definitely get that.
Changer. Been reading Chainsaw Man, you know, which is a pretty good little romance manga if you guys don't know about it. I like it. The latest double we're fighting there's a little bit so, but you know, I'm waiting to see how it develops.
You're talking about the Falling Devil?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing, and I get what I understand, but we got, did you see the awesome backstory with the cat?
No, I did. Oh, no, I don't think I did actually. No.
All right,
then I'm like one or maybe even two behind at this point, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think it was the one before this one. But anyway, I like that backstory, but at the same time, it's like, can Fujimoto, can you let off the gas a little bit on some of these people? Like the banal cruelty of some of the things that happen to some of these characters is almost a little too much, even for my taste. And I've also been trying to also begin with Spy Family, which has had a good arc, and it had like a little filler. And I've been keeping up with Fabricant 100 just because I figured I owed it to myself to try and look at like something new to see what's going on. It seems all right. Like they're kind of slowly building like some of the building blocks, and it's not the most graceful way of doing it. But this makes sense as like an early shonen to me. I'm definitely willing to go the distance to see if it like improves. And also I don't have a massive like list, so I might keep it in my back pocket even if it turns out to be kind of mid. But I like the concept, and I kind of like how it does. It's playing with some of like the old standby tropes of like shonen, while not jumping too headlong into a big twist. Because I think a lot of shonen nowadays feel the spark of having to get their big twist out early, but you didn't give us the time to enjoy the normal stuff yet. Environmentally, it feels very Fullmetal Alchemist, which I enjoy, and also if you want a large evil woman in your life, for anyone who hasn't read it, the secondary character is a large, straight up evil murderous woman with who's dressed up almost trad core with big bosoms. So
I'm sure that'll do it for somebody.
Yeah, like I'll say this, it's not the most fanciful thing in the world other than the fact that again the second main character has the big bosoms. But they, at least currently, they have yet to do anything like weird with it. So yeah, I don't know. I like it well enough. Like right now, I'm kind of still in its grace period, even though it's on chapter 15. I'll probably always just read to catch up on it. Just because it's also an easy read. It's not very difficult. But right now, I'd say it's like at a 7. Not bad, not outstanding.
It survived the chopping block for now. We got a few series that we got. Tokyo Demon Bride leaving this week. We also have like 3 new series starting up this week, if I recall correctly. Let me go ahead and look that up for a second. While I do that, though, I do have the Oricon ratings for this week. Lots of familiar faces in here, a couple new ones. So at number 10. This is for March 20th to March 26th, by the way. So at number 10, we have Skip Beat, selling 74,501 copies. I used to have an ex who was hugely into this. I know it is a massively influential shoujo manga that is super long running. Definitely recommend because, I know for a fact that's good. Up number 9, we got Slam Dunk selling 75,790 copies. Slam Dunk just riding some more off of the movie wave and just being a general cultural icon, as it is one to do. Also doing super well in Korea. And also, the movie was so popular in Korea that it's being looked at to as something that might be able to bring this generation of Japanese and Korean people together, which is crazy. Like, not crazy bad, but like just like dang, I'm happy for them. Like
Yeah,
that.
that's a lot. That's a lot to ride on.
Yeah. We also we actually have a new series from Shun Saiki and or sorry, I'm completely just brain farted about the fact that we're doing Oricon. Sorry about that, folks. All right, at number 8 we got Frieren Beyond Journey's End, selling 79,302 copies. Always recommending Frieren. I think you in particular would love Frieren, by the way, Josh. It's
Yeah,
about
I've heard a
a.
lot. Of,
Do you know
yeah,
the generals? Yeah.
we'll give it for the people.
Yeah, okay. For the people, Frieren is basically think your average like isekai D&D type party. They kill the demon lord, and then 100 years go by, and the elf wizard is the only one left besides for the dwarf barbarian in their party, and she's more or less depressed and trying to find a new party so she can just go and adventure with people that and become social again. And along the way, you see just how powerful she is, and it's really neat because the secret to Frieren's power is actually the fact that she can hide her power level in a world where everybody's power level just shows more or less. So people underestimate her. And she knows a lot of very random magic, like spells in that are very specific. So there will be like this is a spell that makes your clothes taste like fish or something like that.
She's got a lot of cantrips.
Yeah, she has a ton of cantrips as well as just super powerful magic on the back burner as well. Really recommend it.
And
Sorry.
oh, just on that, I was just gonna say, yeah, I hear good things about it, mostly from you and a lot of the guys from What Do You Say Anime, also some of the bros from Bros That Think. I'm into it. Right now, not to compare the two or whatever, but I Dungeon Meshi and Fire and something like they might help turn me on elves. I'm not the biggest elf hater or whatever, but I do think some people will like hype elves a little bit in fantasy. But then you have Dungeon Meshi, who has obviously best elf, who also is a bit of a fuck up, but I love her. And then Firing sounds really good, and it's really relatable as somebody who doesn't in D&D a lot of times play like long lived races.
Yeah.
But a lot of my friends do, especially shout out to my boy Matt and his OG elves.
His elf and tiefling obsession.
Yeah. I it's sweet. I could almost supplement myself into that and being like, oh, so this is what insert my friend's D&D character would be like when my character, who's like a barbarian or a cleric or whatever of a not long lived race, absolutely dies right before they do.
At number 7, we got Oshinoko, another banger it's getting an anime soon, so expect to see this on the Oricon charts for the foreseeable future, because that's gonna be a slapper for sure. Got an hour. We have a whole movie for the first episode, actually, hour and a half long. That's gonna be really fun.
Yep. According to our man Pete, it's peak.
Yeah, he loves it. Pretty much everybody in the What Do You Say anime server loves it. I like it a lot too. I wouldn't say it's complete peak in my opinion though. Selling 80,682 copies. Up next, we have an old man from the country. An old man from the countryside becomes a sword saint, selling 94,059 copies. Sounds like your pretty typical isekai stuff. Mm-hmm. Number 5, My Dress Up Darling, selling 108,335 copies. Number 4, Jujutsu Kaisen, selling 125,323 copies. Number 3, we got One Piece, selling 127,324 copies. Did they have a new volume drop or something, or is this just residuals?
I think that's individuals because I don't think I've seen the cover ever since we saw
the Gear 5 cover.
G5, G5 over the moon.
So that's really good for One Piece for like an off week, honestly. Number 2, we got Record of Ragnarok, selling 135,240 copies. And number 1 should come as no surprise to anybody. We got Blue Lock selling 368,317 copies. This is 100% going to be the best-selling manga this year. Sorry, JJK. Not going to be 3 years in a row. Unless Season 2 just blows up the spot immensely. But even then, it'll be like a half a year of Blue Lock selling well. So, I don't know.
Yeah, that's fair.
Speaking of that news I was talking about, we have a new series coming from the combination of Shun Shun Saiki and Yuto Tsukuda, the combi of Food Wars. They're going to start a new series, a new manga series titled Tenmaku Cinema in the upcoming Weekly Shonen Jump issue on April 10th.
I did just look it up just out of curiosity. The latest One Piece volume that was released, which is the new Four Emperors plus Carrot. That volume was released on March 3rd, 2023, and it's 1056 to 1065. So it's cross-guild into the start of the Vegapunk arc.
So they are, it's probably people still buying that then combined. Well, with a few that are still buying other volumes too.
Yeah, but I will say that's post
for Path
splash.
Yeah, so. for sure. And then we also have another new series out in Weekly Shonen Jump by the creator of Kuroko's Basket, Tadatoshi Fujimaki, titled Kiruao. And then we have Tokyo Demon Bride Story ending out on this newest issue out on April 3rd. So Food Wars creators out on 410 getting a 62-page chapter as well as the cover and color page. It's about about Hajime, a high school student who loves cinema. I think that'll be fun. I'm glad that they're leaning into more like slice of life, hobby oriented stuff in Weekly Shonen Jump because you can't just keep putting out these not JJK type things, like supernatural brawler things. You can't just keep doing that. As for Kiruao, I'm unsure what that's about, but that will be out on issue 20, which is out on April 17th. Okay, and now we can go ahead and move into our non-manga, non-anime recommendations for the week. So why don't you start us off, Josh? What you got for the people?
Okay, so this is kind of like a general thing. First of all, right before this call, I got back into Disco Elysium with our partner because we've been putting it off. Also, I've been trying to go back on One Piece with them too. So again, Disco Elysium. That said, go pirate it. The guy who originally ran it is no longer with the company. They
stole it from him. Yeah,
they literally stole it from him. It is absolutely good to pirate that shit.
Yep. I will say, sorry. If you're hearing this and you don't know about Disco Elysium and you're somebody who loved The Last of Us, Disco Elysium is not at all like The Last of Us, but it is a story where when they make a TV show of it in 10 years and you're all talking about it, you're going to be like, why didn't the gamers tell us about Disco Elysium and how good it was? And it's like, we did. Most of y'all didn't listen, so go play it. Go play it so you can be a hipster like me and Josh who will be like, well, we played that 10 years ago.
And not just that, but we'll also be able to be like, also, by the way, it was better. Because there's no way you can do Disco Elysium like justice unless you're literally doing like a JoJo's thing or it's just going to get super watered down. Like, it's a game that kind of needs to be played. Even if it was kind of a visual novel.
It's a game, for sure. Yeah. Unlike The Last of Us, which, in my opinion, The Last of Us series proved to me that it never had to be a video game in the first place.
Yeah, like, really, it hates being a video game, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, this is not a video game podcast, unfortunately. Although, we might start talking about video games in the podcast. I've been considering it.
Yeah, get like a little, like, 5 to 10 minute video game corner. Like, all right, we can let the video game out of its cage. But as a general thing, I with that, and also because I've been hanging with my partner while they're on spring break for the last year of undergrad, I recommend to people try and do more puzzle games or puzzle mysteries or whodunits or whatever. Because, like, I was in a stream with a bunch of my friends trying to do, like, one Nancy Drew game and this other game 999. And I could feel the elasticity.
999 shit, you dig? Shout out Hastic.
I could feel like the elasticity of my brain and other people's brain expanding as I would both clown my friends for not getting a simple puzzle solved. And then whenever it was like, all right, well, you figure it out then. And then in turn be clowned for also not being able to solve a simple puzzle. It's a good time. Hang out with your friends and do like a little murder mystery or like or a board game. Or something like that. Expand your mind and do something that's a little bit more active instead of just passively consuming content, which we all like to do.
Agreed. My recommendation. So I've got a good recommendation and a garbage recommendation. Which one would you like first, Josh?
Give me the good. I like to save dessert for last.
Fair enough. So my recommendation is the novel Annihilation. You may have watched the movie Annihilation, which is a very decent movie in my opinion. A decent horror movie. The novel Annihilation is trippy as shit. I really enjoyed it. All the characters are just referred to as like the psychologist, the linguist, stuff like that, because they're going into this zone that just fucks up your mind entirely and letting other people know. Basically, the idea is letting the others in the trip know about who you are, like get to know you, can influence how they see you, and they might not notice like odd behaviors that you're doing because of that. Or that's the logic they use, but it's kind of bunk logic because like the agency that runs it is somewhat sinister. Yeah. I just really enjoyed it. It was super trippy. I related to it in some ways because like the main character is a biologist who really finds like doesn't understand people a whole lot a lot of the time, and finds them like pretty disappointing, and finds solace in like random, like her specialty is environments that are like boundary environments, so like estuaries, forests that turn into tundras, stuff like that. Like the things that
like isolation.
Yeah, the things that live in like those, like the spaces between environments, more or less.
Yeah.
And they go into her backstory really well and whatnot, and I just really enjoyed it. I'm doing not a great job of selling it because there's a lot of spoilers, but like some of the like the words that are written on the walls and stuff in Annihilation are just crazy. Like they find this thing called like the crawler in a tunnel, and its whole thing is it's writing a message on a wall that has like these microfauna in it. Mm-hmm. And the message it writes on the wall is just like the craziest thing. I don't know if I can find it necessarily, but just read the book and find it. I'll come back next week if I can find the whole message, because I can never find it online. And then the bad thing I'm going to recommend is it is a reality TV show that got canceled called Cocktails with Khloe, and it is Khloe Kardashian having cocktails in a fake house set with various guests. Like the first episode has like a Real Housewife and Kendall Jenner and Kim Whitley, aka Bumblebee from Black Dynamite. And Snoop Dogg shows up eventually, and Aisha Tyler. And Aisha Tyler is there too, actually.
Oh.
And basically they play like drinking games and stuff like that. They lie about not having had threesomes because they had like a thing where you had to like wave your arms if you've ever had a threesome, and only one person did it. And it's like, you're lying to me. You're all grown adults. Like,
yeah.
Like, you're famous. You've had threesomes. Like, Aisha Tyler, I know you've had a threesome before. Don't lie to us. Like, you're trying to save your rep, but...
Yeah, and it's weird how, like, some, like, shows, like, almost, like have a weird, like, almost neocon streak, because it's, like, it's just a threesome, guys.
It's not...
Like, Snoop Dogg.
He wasn't there. He wasn't there yet, okay, to be fair. But he got there later.
Enough. I was going to say, because if he didn't, I'd almost, like, pull up and be like, what are you talking about?
I know, I'm almost positive Snoop has literally rapped about having a threesome at some point. Yeah, exactly. And like,
it's weird.
Yeah. It's very odd. They talk about all sorts of weird shit. They prank called Kim Kardashian, who was breastfeeding at the time, and got Kendall Jenner to like lie and say she was pregnant on the phone to prank call her. And honestly, Kim handled it really well. I will give her that. I had some respect for her from that. Now, granted, like it could be like, you know, staged or whatever, but I choose to believe they're being human for like 1 second.
I could also see it,
or being vulnerable for a second is what I should say. I don't want to dehumanize them. That's my fault.
Yeah. Well, I could also see this, and I'm not saying this to dehumanize them, but I could also see this as being like, at that point, you're so on all the time that the second you get a call out of the blue or whatever, you're like, I gotta dial this up to 50%.
Yeah.
And depending on how this goes, I'm gonna just be totally on too.
Yeah.
You know, which I think is a sad reality to live in, but I also get it. Like, when your life is just that, you have to move in a way that makes sense for that.
Yeah. Kim Whitley also jokes the whole time about wanting to be adopted by Kris Kardashian or Kris Jenner, so she could get because of how Kris Jenner manages like her daughters and makes them famous and into supermodels and stuff.
Damn.
Yeah, it was honestly funny. I love Kim Whitley's hilarious. I love her in basically everything I've seen her in. She's great in the Aziz Ansari show, Master of None. She's fantastic at Master of None. She's great in Black Dynamite. She's just awesome and great voice actor too. So Cocktails with Chloe is a trash show, but it sometimes has fun guests. Like Jenna Marbles is like on the second episode, if I recall correctly. Eventually, it just stops being anybody I know because I'm pretty sure they know they're getting canceled and nobody wants it. I will say it's funny because they're talking to a Real Housewife, and they're like, "So you're not on." They open it up, by the way. They literally open it up by talking to the Real Housewife and saying, "So you had a messy fight with your ex-husband on the last episode of the show you were on." And she looks very taken aback that they would start off with that. Like, what the hell? Like, it's literally like 30 seconds into the show.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's the Family Guy meme of, I just sat down.
And the best part about it is that the camera work, it gives Eric Andre. Like, you really feel like Eric Andre is about to just bust through the wall or something like that. Yeah. And
I'm glad they decided to have fun with it instead of it just being like hyper polished or whatever.
Yeah.
Cuts.
If you want to watch that, you can, I guess, buy it on YouTube, or you can check out the Freevee app, which is one of those like free streaming apps. Mm-hmm. And I believe it has every episode, but it obviously has like ads too. So. Yeah. But they actually have some pretty cool stuff on the Freevee app too, honestly. But I'm not sponsored by Freevee, so no more free clout, unfortunately.
I will give free clout because, like I mentioned, Nancy Drew games. We're about to maybe start the one that takes place in New Orleans. Although our friend Andy said
I've seen that one actually.
You never actually go to New Orleans. You just hang out in a creepy mansion on the outskirts of New Orleans.
Yeah, it's kind of like that episode of King of the Hill.
Yeah.
I mean, they do go to the Superdome,
but... spoilers for Nancy Drew Icicle Crash Mystery or whatever. It's the guy who did it was the immigrant. It's the funny talking immigrant who swears he's the best skier in the world. And he's the whole time he's pretending he's paranoid because he's like, my opponents don't want me to win the next big race. They are going to try to murder me with bombs. Like... I'm the greatest skier that's ever fucking lived. Put some respect on my name. Everyone wants to be me. Everyone wants to be with me. And then later it's like, yeah, no, I'm a really good skier, but also I'm here to steal like uranium from this mine in Canada for my fake Eastern Bloc country, friendo or whatever.
Yeah, did you know that Cobra Commander is from a place called Batistan?
Huh. Did you know that Chinese checkers were actually invaded?
I did know that actually, but tell the audience.
Chinese checkers are not Chinese at all, which is obvious. Like neither is Chinese food, but it's not even like an immigrant made it. It was actually made by. Huh?
Go ahead.
It was made by like a Jewish man in Germany.
Yeah.
And like, the original word was like called Sternholm, which means like hop skippity. And then eventually...
American just turned into Chinese checkers.
Yeah, the racist British were like, what if we orientalize the fuck out of this and make it popular?
Yep, sounds right.
With the most racist, cartoony Fu Manchu dragons we can. And then it'll sell like hotcakes.
Yeah.
And then in the 1940s, several years after, Milton Bradley made a patent for it. That was Chinese checkers.
Yeah. So... honestly, with that interesting bit of history, I think we're going to go ahead and call the pod. Yeah. It's been great. Josh, thanks for hanging out. If you guys want to... why don't you tell the people where... you got anything you want to plug? Anything? Socials, events, anything like that?
I just did events, but if I can brag for a minute. So, my name is Josh Hoskler. I'm also Versen the Vassal on Twitter. just gonna warn you guys now. My work is political in origin. I do like campaign work and stuff. So if you don't want to see politics, especially environmental activism, don't follow. But if you do, absolutely follow because I also talk about anime on there too. Um, that being said, though, I'm gonna brag because last night, way late at night, I got an email. I'm actually gonna be on a panel at the State of the Coast, which is like the biggest environmental like conversation convention in Louisiana. Appreciate that. Uh, so I'm gonna do that. I just need my company to make sure I pay for it because after I got approved for my panel with three other awesome people, including my boy Justin Solette of the Homa Tribe, um, turns out attendance, even if you're a speaker there or whatever, is like $500. Even if
Jeez.
you're a speaker. Yeah, so I'm about to go to my job and be like, "Hey guys, that panel you wanted me to sign up for,
You need to
I
pay
did it.
that.
It's all good." Yeah, I can't pay $500 for my job though. I
No.
kind of was hoping I'd get
That's
paid to
scam
do
shit.
this.
That's scam
Yeah,
shit,
right.
actually.
Yeah, like part
And
of me's like, yeah, no fucking wonder. But anyway,
whatever,
all right.
yeah. Non-profit State of the Coast, by the way.
Yeah,
Big
but
State of the Coast is planning against you.
I'm doing a convention next week, and then I'll have that one later, and then I might have another thing, and I'll
Wait,
do another thing in Atlanta. So,
dude, why don't you just use your Soros money for that? The check's in the
yeah,
mail,
man,
I bet. Like,
between you asking about my Soros money and our friend Kane being like, "So that's where my tax dollars going," I have to I get no money from any of that. I wish I did. If anyone is looking to give me money, I'll take it.
George
But
Soros, send us some money.
yeah, right now I'm kind of just getting the scraps that over 100 NGOs put into like a money pot, and then they're like, "Here you go, Josh. Expand environmental activism in the deepest red part of America."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Sure, buddy, I will."
Yep. So if you want to follow him, you can follow him at Versen the Vassal on Twitter. Not anywhere else, I'm pretty sure. I think we're both only on Twitter these days.
Pretty much just on Twitter. I post some stuff to Insta, but also Josh Hoskler on that too. It's less cool stuff on Insta. Pretty much just Twitter.
And if you want to follow me, you can follow me over at Shard Based on Twitter. That's Shard as in a shard of glass, and based as in, man, Millions Knives was pretty based in Trigun.
He wasn't wrong about a lot of stuff.
Knives ain't did nothing wrong.
He was wrong about his conclusion.
Knives ain't did nothing wrong. And then if you want to follow the pod, you can follow us at Manga Melee Pod. That's all one word on Twitter. I'm going to try to be more active on TikTok, I think. Don't know if I'm going to do the whole posting 3 a day. That sounds like a lot of work, and I don't do this as a job. This is not my living. So, we'll see. We'll see how I do. But other than that, catch us in the next couple weeks. Sorry about the delay there, guys. Bit of end-of-the-year blues going on, and general chicanery with finding a regular co-host that's kind of still ongoing, but we're figuring it out. And we'll get there. Thank you so much for listening, guys. I will catch y'all next week, or week after next, actually. And peace.